Well, I'm out here again. This is my fourth, well actually it's afternoon right now, third day in a row. The last 3 days I've missed 3 different bucks with my crossbow. I started taking my crossbow out because I wasn't happy with my shooting form once I started putting the warmer winter clothing on. I tend to practice a lot in the summer and the early fall with my traditional equipment, but I'm not wearing that much clothing. So once it gets cold and I bulk up and I'm traveling around instead of sitting in a stand or in a blind, I find I have too much clothes on to shoot properly. Unless I've really been practicing. Not like I have other years with that clothing on, but this year I'm not. Or I just didn't have time. Well, I've seen several does, but I haven't had any chance at any of them. But I've had a chance at 4 bucks over the last week and a half, including the last 3 days. So I'm setting up on the trail that the 2 bucks yesterday's and today's were using. And there were some does with the 2nd buck, the one yesterday. So hoping something comes by. I've got a trail at 24 yards, another one at about 30 yards from me. Southwest wind today. So the wind's in my face. I'm looking at this hardwood bush. And another hour of daylight left. So they should start moving anytime now. We'll see. Anyway, that's why I haven't been posting any other videos lately. I've been focused on this. I need to get some meat in the freezer. It's the least amount I've had of game meat on hand. I'd like to preserve this one, smoke and can it, and make jerky. So I'd really like to get one next week before the season ends. So stay tuned. Let's see. It's 3 days left in the season. It's the 29th today? It's today, 30th and 31st, and the season's over, and I still haven't shot my deer. It's been the most frustrating year ever. First time, if I don't get one, it'll be the first time in 19 years that I didn't shoot a deer. But that's part of the problem with discovering or exploring a new area and trying to figure out the game patterns. A couple things I'm doing this morning though. I've already spooked 2 deer, unfortunately. They saw me before I saw them, and that's the greatest challenge with still hunting. And the reason I'm not stand hunting is because I don't know the area well enough to be confident to set up a stand or a blind, ground blind, and sit in that thing and wait patiently. When I don't know the patterns, I don't have time to put trail cameras out. So it's a bit of a challenge this year. A couple things I'm doing though, a couple things I always do. Sorry if I'm not staring at the camera. There's quite a few deer in here right now, so I'm keeping my eye out. So one thing I do is well, 2 things. First of all, it's windy today and it's cold. It's about minus 18 Celsius with the wind chill. The wind's coming from the northwest, which is good because then I know that anything basically downwind this way is going to scent me before I get a chance to put a stalk on a deer. So I'm working my way into the wind. Now I keep checking the wind direction with this little squeeze bottle that I've had forever. I don't know what was in it originally, but I've got corn starch in this because it's light. It's basically what talcum powder or baby powder is made of, so it's extremely light and fine. So you can see every time I do that, the wind takes it away. It's even more important when the wind is swirling or if it's a subtle wind. A light wind because it's not always obvious which way the wind's blowing. So if any deer, bear, moose, any big game sense you, or predators, they get your scent, then they're gone. You have no chance really at them. But if they hear you only and can't smell you, then typically they try to figure out what you are. That's why I've been successful at doing this type of hunt. It's a very challenging hunt. It's probably the most difficult way to hunt deer with a bow in winter conditions where the ground's crunchy and moving, still hunting through the woods. I have to get within 20 yards of deer. Not sure if I kept in the clip that I filmed earlier talking about the frustration of the 3 deer that I actually missed, and foolish mistakes. But 3 different bucks I called in to within 20 yards and missed them for a variety of reasons. So it's the way the hunting goes. But like I said, it's going to be the most frustrating season, the most unsuccessful season I've ever had at hunting, at least since I was very young. The other thing I do is carry these binoculars. These are just a cheap pair of whatever, not sure even the kind there, Tasco probably. Yeah, Tasco. 10 by 25. And what I do is set that out, set the focus basically on the maximum. I set that at the maximum focus because especially with all these saplings and stuff in here, deer, if they're not moving, they blend in so well with the forest you can't see them. They could be sitting there watching me, and with my naked eye I just can't see that. But with these binoculars set at maximum distance, I can scan the forest as far basically as they can see. As long as I'm still, they can't tell what I am. And if I can see them, I typically can call them into me. That's how I shoot 75% of my deer. I call in with my mouth. That's why I call moose, and I can call bear that way as well. So typically what happens is when they hear me crunching in the leaves and the snow, they're curious because there's other animals in here, other deer, and by giving that call, does 2 things. It reassures them that I'm just another deer, or convinces them I'm just another deer, or if it's and if the bucks are still looking for receptive does in heat, then what they'll do is come to me. And that's what I did with those 3, actually 4 bucks I called in, 3 I got a shot at. The 4th one I was calling in, and a pack of coyotes started howling all around me. 3 different coyotes, and one quite close to the deer, so it was coming right towards me. I had 3 does behind him, and I pulled the buck right away from the does, and the coyotes howled, and then all of them took off in the opposite direction. So we'll see 2 more days, like I said. Let's see what I can find. I'll get out this afternoon again, probably sit. I do have 1 spot that I did have a chance at a couple of does, and I made a little kind of ground blind. I'll go check that trail before I leave this morning, and if they're still using that trail, then I'll hunt that tonight, and I'll just sit and wait patiently right up until dark. Alright, let's go see if we can find something. So as you can see, I finally got my deer, even though it took the entire season right up to day, the third last day of the season. And I ended up taking a doe despite having those chances at had 4 different bucks, actually 5 bucks if you include the one that I chased around here during rifle season. So that's the way hunting goes. I knew this year was going to be challenging because of first of all, I'm new to this area. It's vast forest here, and just not, first of all, very low density, population density compared to, say, agricultural regions south of here, but also not knowing the land and that they have so much land to travel through. I don't even know where the feeding areas or the bedding areas are really. I'm getting a little better handle on it, but by the time I really patterned the deer here, the season had ended. So December 15th being the last day of bow season. So next year I'll be a lot further ahead. I'll start actually hunting them probably at the beginning of the bow season at the beginning of October. And part of the reason I didn't want to harvest a deer earlier this year is because I didn't have my storage or preservation system set up. By this fall I will. I'll have a cellar, a smokehouse, what else? Put better canning set up so that I can preserve the meat, all of the meat, and tan the hide. So all of those things I'll be, like I said, in better position to do next year. So I'll start hunting earlier and hopefully get a bigger buck so I get more meat out of it. I had to travel south. I was traveling south anyway to spend Christmas with the rest of the family and the extended family. And while I was down there, I went and hunted my old hunting grounds, and that's I knew them better, although I hadn't hunted this particular spot in quite some time. I was able to get onto the deer, have those opportunities, and then finally harvest a doe at the end of the season. This crossbow that I switched to because, like I mentioned when I was out there, the amount of gear, the amount of clothing I was wearing because it was late season was impeding my ability to shoot well with that longbow. And I wasn't confident that I could pull off a clean kill, so what I ended up doing is switching over to the crossbow. Now, the crossbow, I showed you 3 different times that I missed bucks because of things that went wrong. A string broke on one buck, sights were off on another, and this is the problem that I was talking about that I'm rectifying now. When you don't use your gear all of the time and practice all of the time, there's things that you overlook, things that go wrong. And this is a prime example of that. The scope, what I didn't realize is that even though I practice each time before I go out and I make sure the sights are still on, I didn't realize there was one set of bolts on that scope that were loose. So what was happening is I'd sight in the crossbow, and I would go out into the field and it would be shooting perfectly. I can split arrows basically at 20 yards. I would go out into the field, I'll stick it in my case, go out into the field, hike through thick bush, still hunting, and what was happening is I didn't realize that scope was getting pushed back towards the stock, or the butt end of the stock. And as that would happen, it would throw off the line of sight. So my arrows were hitting really low each time. I thought I shot over the buck that went down into the creek. I went back to that spot just after I actually finished the season, and I found the arrow, and it was actually underneath where the buck would have been standing. So the same thing happened. Again, I sighted the bow in each time before I went back out to the same spot, and I thought it was on deadly accurate. Didn't realize that as I was putting it in the case and then taking it out again, that was getting adjusted and it was throwing it off again. Those mistakes can happen, but more often they happen because of not being prepared. And that's really what it was this time. I just wasn't shooting every day. I wasn't, it's not a weapon I use very often. I very rarely use a crossbow. I've had that for a number of years, and it's more for this type of situation where I'm not practicing enough with my longbow, or the situations like extreme cold that change my setup so that I'm not comfortable shooting, or I don't feel like I'm accurate enough. I'll switch to that crossbow, and because I don't shoot it every day, it's not something I noticed. Didn't realize that scope could move like that, and it cost me a lot of meat in the freezer this year. So I ended up with a doe. I'll end up with probably 65 pounds of lean meat off of it, plus the organs and stuff. And some of the bucks around here I've shot in the past, I get, well, one biggest buck I shot dressed out about 220 pounds. So that's a big difference in the quantity of meat, and that's the price I'm paying this year for not being better prepared and better practiced. So that's it for this season. I'll take care of this deer. I'll process it and share some of the meals I'm going to make out of it. And like I said, next year, learn my lesson this year. I'll be practicing every day here. Got my target range that I'll be setting up shortly, and practice literally every day. I'll be shooting the bow, and there's so many good spots just to go roving with my bow, like wandering through the woods, shooting at random stumps and stuff. And there's small game season. Hopefully I'll take some rabbits later this winter. Other than that, again, practice, and I'll do that year round, starting now. So that's it for this video, and that's it for this deer season. Look forward to seeing you in 2019, and I hope you join me up at the cabin to see what I'm up to next. Take care. Have a great week.